Bryson Neal blasted into the 2022 championship season of the Grand National Cross Country Series in hopes of dethroning the #1 and 7-time champ of Walker Fowler. However, Walker Fowler fires back with 2 wins of his own in rounds 2 and 3. Today in round 4, can Bryson Neal come back? Stick around to find out.
Are you ready to go? GNCC Racing!
Hello and welcome to America's premier off-road racing championship, the 2022 GNCC Series presented by Specialized and AMA National Championship. As we welcome you to Union, South Carolina for this 4th round, it is the Specialized Tiger Run GNCC, and just a couple of weeks ago we were at the General GNCC in Washington, Georgia at the famed Aonia Pass Motocross Park, where Hunter Hart got off to a great start, opening up the season with a 16th and a 6th. He was looking for big things here on this day, and an early lead was certainly leading its way that direction. Of course, it's a big battle shaping up, but Walker Fowler grabbing the lead after a little battle there with the front of the pack. Looked like Bryson Neal right there, about 4th, 5th place position, rode that first couple of laps. Devin Feehan in the mix of things, along with, again, Hunter Hart. So it was Walker Fowler, Hunter Hart, Devin Feehan, and Bryson Neal, but that basically became the front 4. They separated themselves from the rest of the field, and it became a shootout basically between those riders. And Devin Feehan leading for a lap, riding very closely knit with Walker Fowler on several occasions, pushing the envelope and challenging for passes, as well as Hunter Hart in the same scenario and position as well. And of course, the 241 of Bryson Neal right there in the thick of things, trying to make things happen. But you could not deny that #1 machine, as he rose to the occasion from all the pressure all day long, showing why he does carry the weight of 7 championships on his shoulder coming into this one. And this year it is a weight because everyone is gunning for wins, and they all know the guy they have to go through is Walker Fowler. And no one knows that better than the 241 of Bryson Neal. Try as he may. He comes up second behind Walker Fowler as Fowler takes his 70th checker flag, another benchmark in the 7-time GNCC champion's career.
Just awesome, so excited, 70 wins, smart race. Today was all about smart, and I'm really proud of these 2 guys. You know, it's the guys that we all thought would be running up front. Just took Hunter a couple races to get going, but Bryson's riding good, it was fun. And yeah, I'm losing my voice, I guess. But yeah, just want to give a huge shout out to my parents, the whole WFR Yamaha team, the Pipers at home watching. Thank you so much. My mechanic Mark Nautman, Yamaha Fly Racing, GPC, FMF exhaust, and just.
Well, my mistake. Actually, Hunter Hart got second. Bryson Neal got third. Actually, he goes 1, 2, 3 on the season so far. Devin Feehan in 4th. And John Glotta Jr., another consistent top 5 finish for him. As we head back down here to the Tiger Run GNCC, another 2-hour format, 11.5-mile race course. And basically what we saw at the Big Buck at round #1, those same types of conditions, actually a little different. It's a little drier out here today. Walker Fowler getting off to a good start, but it's the 521 of the Gator, Adam McGill, grabbing the lead on this one. So getting not the kind of rain showers and so forth that we saw leading into this event that we saw at round 1, the Big Buck GNCC. So conditions are a little drier. So even if we ran the same track, it would probably feel a lot different to these riders. As honestly, Adam McGill couldn't be in a better position than what he's in right now out front. Whoever's out front's got the clearest vision here on this first lap of racing, and it's probably going to start to see some separation between some of these riders if this stays dusty like this. As we get deeper down in the woods, it may not be so bad as this day progresses, though. XC2 off and rolling now as we've got a battle for the lead on this one. Wyatt Wilkin, Jay Shadron, Brandon Owen, some of the key players up there. I think that may have been Jay Shad grabbing the early lead in this one. And Shadron is certainly going to be a force to be reckoned with, not only for the guys in row 2, but also on row 1. Look at this. It is still a little further down the trail. The 521 of Adam McGill out front as these riders are jockeying for position. And, you know, as dry as it is, the dust isn't really much of an issue, it doesn't appear. I don't know if the wind's blowing or it's just a heavy dust or whatever the case may be, but you can see the ground is rather dry out here today, and the wind is kind of helping blow that away. But new leader there with Walker Fowler out front now. It is Adam McGill in second. I believe that's Jarrett McClure back there in that number 3 spot as riders continue to try to sort themselves out here. Austin Abney back about that number 10 spot now as they work their way through these lowlands now. Again, some wind out there helping out that dusty condition, so that's not too big of an issue for these riders today, and it's keeping them pretty close. I kind of thought with as dry as things were, we might start to see this race separate early on, but obviously that is not the case right now. Cole Richardson also seems to be having his struggles back there on the 733, and looks like Jay Shadron has snuck up to the back of the field. He's definitely in the top 10 overall. Will he be pushing for a win for the days over overall? Stick around to find out. The Tiger Run continues after this. Coverage of the Grand National Cross Country Championship on MAV TV is brought to you in part by Specialized E-Turbo Bikes. It's you, only faster. And by Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com. Get ready. Welcome back to GNCC on MAV TV, and of course, as has been said so many times, the heart of the GNCC racing nation is its amateurs and its youth, and of course, our youth racing program kicking off bright and early on the Saturday mornings with micro racers. These riders off at 9:30 in the morning. What a big win and a big finish here today for Cole Likens, the number 11 machine taking the win. Well, from 6th place finish the round before to his first ever win. A big turnaround for that young man as he takes it to Jordan Burge, who won the previous round as well. Walker Fowler back out front of this one. He won the previous round and is in control of this one and looking to make it 3 in a row, actually winning the 2nd and 3rd rounds. Bryson Neal having his struggles back there today. Now, remember, Bryson's gone 1, 2, 3 on the season so far on the 241 machine, so we'll see if he can turn that around today. It's going to be tough, though, whenever Walker Fowler's out front like this, but Walker hasn't been able to get those breakaways that we've seen in seasons past, but right now Walker is starting to break away just a little bit, and that could be the turning of the tides as far as this race day is concerned until we see this. Bryson Neal has found his way nearly to the rear grab bar of the number 1 machine and is ready to seemingly mount a challenge, or is he? Is he just laying back there watching what's going on, trying to match that pace right now? This is going to get interesting as we watch this one unfold. And can Bryson Neal get back on top of the box and get this championship back to a real fight between those riders? Got a real good battle going on for 3rd. Looks like about 4 or 5 guys could actually be vying for that spot before this day is all said and done. So keeping an eye on Jarrett McClure, Hunter Hart, and a few other riders back there. They're trying to jockey themselves for a top 3 overall position as well. But man, I tell you right now, it looks like the front 2 of Walker Fowler and Bryson Neal are really starting to stretch things out. You look a little further back, there is your 3rd place ride. Hunter Hart, who's coming off of a 2nd place position finish just a few weeks ago in Georgia. 16th and a 6th to open up the season, so you know he's gunning for another podium spot here today, trying to keep the pace with these 2 front runners and seeming to do a fairly decent job so far here on lap 2 as we work toward lap number 3. Hart is by himself now, kind of in that number 3 spot as things are shaping up back there for the 4th place spot now. Looks like Jared McClure and maybe Devin Feehan battling back there from that number 5 spot now. John Glotta Jr. also trying to be a member of the top 5, and Cole Richardson also, as we said, having his struggles out here today. And he's not the only one having to struggle. Bryson Neal struggling to get around, and he does it. Bryson Neal making the pass on Walker Fowler. And now Fowler back to second. There is Hunter Hart in that number 3 position. So we've got a change and a new race leader. And look, our top 5 are not far apart right now. Devin Feehan back there in that number 5 position on the number 7 machine. Rounds out the top 5. And in all honesty, these guys are all still pretty close together as, look at this. The hammer has been put down, but Bryson Neal, as we check in a little further down the trail, it looks like he's stretching it out over Walker Fowler, and Fowler stretching it out over Hunter Hart. Hunter still got a little bit of a shadow back there between that 4th and 5th place ride, so this is going to get interesting as this lap and this race progresses here now. What kind of fever pitch are we going to see these riders begin to ride at now? There's John Glada now. That's your 6th place ride, making his way up the hill, and you can see he's already starting to lose kind of a little bit of touch with those top 5 riders right now because the pace has quickened quite a bit. And that all due to the 241, the Bidwell Bullet pulled the trigger, took his shot, and man, did he hit the mark. Now Walker Fowler trying to rebound back from that big direct hit now. We'll see if he can make that happen. But that gap is opening up even more. Each time we check in at a camera location, the gap is widening. We're looking at a gap that is now lengthened from probably about a 10-second gap to we're pushing closer to a 30-second gap between 2nd and 3rd place position. And holy moly, do we have a battle shaping up for the final 5 spots, or 3, 4, and 5 spots. Now, Hunter Hart still somewhat by himself, but that 4, 5, and 6 spots right now are certainly a little tight. And once again, Fowler is not letting the 241 machine get away too far. As we check in different camera spots, you'll see Fowler gains a little ground, loses a little ground, gains a little more ground back. But the one thing both these riders are doing is continually stretching themselves out ahead of the rest of the field. Kudos to the number 2 of Hunter Hart, who's doing a great job of keeping this pace and line choice, by the way, finding some smooth lines out there in that grass like that. He's starting to lose touch with the 4th and 5th place battle. And where's Jay Shadron now? He's losing touch with that 4 and 5 spot. So now it's going to come down between those 2 riders for 4th and 5th. Likely it's looking like, unless they can reel that gap back in that Hunter Hart is starting to amass between himself and those 2 riders. Speaking of 2 riders, these 2 riders are starting to see some distance amassed again. We saw these riders here a lap ago, and this gap has widened even more at this particular point. So it looks like every time that Walker Fowler is matching Bryson Neal, then Bryson Neal fires back and is able to match a little more even, add a little more to it. And Walker Fowler is trying to dig deep and add his bank to it as well. This is going to go like this, I'm sure, right down to the finish line unless someone has a mechanical, unless someone has an incident, runs into a tree or something. But the way these guys are riding, they're riding so fluid today. I don't look for any problems. These machines seem to be running at top notch as well. Love this shot as well. We get a good shot of them going up and then back around. Only a few feet separating those 2 sections of racetrack. Bryson Neal continuing to put that hammer down. And I believe he's done it. He may have broken away from the number 1 of Walker Fowler. He's got lap traffic between himself and the 2nd place right now. So this is a big day for Bryson Neal after that 2nd, 3rd place finish after the season opening win. This is answering a lot more questions as to would he have more as they headed north. And yes, he does. It wasn't a one-shot wonder for him as he takes the win around 1. And now back here at the Big Buck property, he's back in the winning way. So he really seems to like this property and like this terrain. And as we head north, it's more favorable terrain the way that Bryson Neal likes it. But you got to take into account, too, Walker Fowler is another rider that likes these kind of terrains. So this is going to be a very interesting championship season. Could quite possibly be the best ATV championship season we've seen since Walker Fowler lost by just a point or so right there at the finish line at the hands of Chris Porch when he took his 6th and final championship. Walker Fowler is seeing the same kind of aggression against his championship title now, and it's pretty exciting to see how he is firing back on that. Little lap traffic ahead of the race leader. Don't know if that's going to slow him down. Fowler has gotten through his lap issues and is now trying to gain some more ground on the 241. And Lapper's starting to realize who's coming up behind him and getting out of the way of your leader. So that's some graces there for Bryson Neal. Walker Fowler going to see those same graces, I believe, but more and more lapped riders are getting in between them. You see that lapped rider actually cheering Fowler on, telling him to go get him. And he's going to try to sneak up behind him, watch this battle himself to try to keep that pace. And speaking of paces, our Saturday pace is unreal out of GNCC. We start bright and early in the morning at 8 o'clock with micro riders and end our day. Well, this isn't necessarily the true end of it, but it's close to the end. EMTB, Electric Mountain Bike GNCC Racing, brought to you by your friends at Specialized, is a feature race on Saturday evenings at most GNCCs and offers a different variety of, well, woods racing and two wheels. It's bicycles, but they are battery operated and pedal assist. Now, they are not necessarily all powered by the battery, but they do assist them. And we have seen some great championship battles starting to shape up. Charlie Mullins, who's a former two-wheel motorcycle champion, is now the rider to beat in the EMTBs. We've had a few riders that have stepped up and tried to do it, actually. And Cypress Corey being one of those. Nick Mackey won, but on this day, it was all Charlie Mullins as he takes the win here at the second round of EMTB GNCC Racing for the 2022 season. And of course, if you like what you see in EMTB GNCC, check it out yourself on GNCCRacing.com. Right now, though, we're headed down to the wire. Can Bryson Neal hang on to the lead over Walker Fowler? Stick around to find out.
Coverage of the Grand National Cross Country Championship on MAV TV is brought to you in part by Specialized E-Turbo Bikes. It's you, only faster. And by Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com. Get ready.
But it'll start, still spin over, but shoot off the gas and die.
I'll whip it around real quick.
I mean, like coming out of the corner, all of a sudden it was just like you just locked the brakes up.
Well, a heartbreaker there for Adam McGill, no doubt about it, causing him some issues and taking him out of this race day today. But nothing taken out of the race day for these two riders up front, the 241 of Bryson Neal and the number 1 of Walker Fowler, as they continue to wage war here in the South Carolina soils to find out who is going to be, I guess, the Tiger King, if you will, of South Carolina here at this Tiger Run GNCC, and looks like perfect territory for the number 241 machine of Bryson Neal, as he's been able to win round 1 here on this property, and now looks like going on to win round number 4, his second win of the 2021 season, as we see him and Fowler both coming out of the woods close together but not close enough. Final few turns, and the number 241, the Bidwell Bullet, Bryson Neal, takes the win here at the Tiger Run GNCC. He is, my friends, the Tiger King, if you will, and of course he is pretty excited, pretty pumped up about that one. A rider that less than a year ago and within the last year wasn't even for sure if he was even going to be able to ever race again, let alone be competitive. And one of the strongest competitors he's ever met in his life, Walker Fowler, comes up and shakes his hand, and we head down to the winner's circle.
Yeah, man, whenever I saw Walker, I looked back and I saw him hit the splash of gas. I looked down the pro row, and my dad, he wasn't ready, and I was like, oh gosh. I was like, I know Walker's going to try everything he can to get to my grab bar. That's the obvious game plan, get to my grab bar. When I pit the next lap, make the pass. So I sprinted, I put my head down, tried to maintain that gap, so whenever I pitted, I could get back out into the lead. Was able to do it. Had a great start today, 4th going to the woods. Made pass on Hunter pretty early, about a couple miles in. Got in a 3rd. Jared, he was smoking. His bike wasn't running. I don't know if he finished today, but man, his bike was smoking, and he kind of pulled up, let me by. And and then we was able to track down Walker and ride with him. We was ripping good, had a good pace, and then I actually didn't even mean to pass him. My line that I took just so happened that it was way faster, and I came out ahead. I was like, okay, I didn't expect that, but here we go. So, and then we pitted, and I just tried to maintain the gap all day. You know, my whole crew did a great job giving me the splits and helped me maintain the gap, and Big Buck was perfect, or not Big Buck, but Tiger Run was perfect today, and I love this place. I love the track. I love the flow, and we're pumped to get this win.
Well, there you go. You see Bryson Neal pretty pumped. You see Mikey Waynes in his Tiger striped outfit celebrating the Tiger Run GNCC, and he had a chance to talk with Walker Fowler.
A little bit of a mistake at the pit, and had to make a stop in the woods. I had mud in my goggles. I never did get it out, and he had about 10 seconds on me and stayed there about all day. I'd try to get close, and he'd get some lappers between us, and then, I know that he had to fight the lap traffic, so I'd reel him back in, and he'd get 4 or 5 between us, and then I had to deal with them myself. So yeah, it was just it was a day where, like I said, I missed a setup. But yeah, it just wasn't perfect. And like I said earlier this year, this is a year where you can't make any mistakes. And I made a couple, and just had to ride around at about 80%, and just hope I got lucky, and I didn't get lucky today.
Well, he didn't get lucky, but a good finish nonetheless. Second place, Cole Richardson turning his day around up to a third-place position finish. Fian holds on for fourth. John Glotta Jr. in fifth.
Yeah, I wish we could have got a better start. We was actually dead last off the start in the second corner. A couple guys came together. I think it was Borch that actually wrecked right in front of me and pushed me wide. So we went in the woods about dead last, and it was a little dusty in the fields. The woods were nice, but there wasn't many options. The track was pretty fast, so you had to get pretty risky there to make a few passes, and we was able to reel that whole pack in there. And got a little worried there for a while. Picked off Junior, and ended up picking off 2 more with a split line with a couple lappers. And I knew Jared looked like he's getting a little gassed out there. And again, we got another couple lappers. He took a line, I cut up the inside of the other, and was able to get him. And just be able to get P3 on the weekend.
Great turnaround for the 733 of Cole Richardson. The Cole train turning that one around after getting pinched off on that start. Man, what a struggle. Those guys were bunched up, though, was able to pick through them. And picking off the early lead was the 521 of Adam McGill, who later had motor problems and took him out of the race. What a bummer and a heartbreaker there for him. Walker Fowler up front there was able to get around the 521 machine and establish an early lead, and looked like he was going to be the dominating factor. And then all of a sudden, working his way through the pack was the 241 of Bryson Neal. Neal all of a sudden becoming not only a bit of a picture in the rear view mirror, so to speak, a little further back, but all of a sudden he became full of it, and then all of a sudden he became, well, absent from it, because he was right in front of Walker Fowler, took the lead, and basically never looked back from that point on. And Walker Fowler, try as he may, as he said, had some issues with mud in the goggles, but man, every bit of time that he lost out there was just tough to make back up. He gained some of it whenever they got in some lap traffic, but nonetheless never could. That battle back there, third, fourth, fifth, sixth place positions we kept talking about. Cole Richardson outside of that for so long. We didn't even see him there until the end of the race whenever he reeled in John Glotta Jr. They pushed up to the rear of the top 5, and then voila, he finds himself in a top 3 position. So good ride there for Cole Richardson on the 733 machine, and a great ride today for the 241 of Bryson Neal as he goes 1, 2, 3, and now 1 on the season. Second win of the 2022 Grand National Cross Country Championship year. Wow. Already things are starting to look pretty exciting. Championship points are tightening up, and we're getting excited for a real battle all the way through. You can too. Be sure and follow us right here on MAV TV and on GNCCRacing.com.